Hello everybody. This is episode 8 of the DomJake podcast titled Artificially Intelligent. I'm your host, Jacob.
And I'm your other host, Dominic. Anyway, don't you think we should go back to our original voices?
All boo. I guess so. Now,
Today I am revealing a secret episode that I had in mind. Remember last time there was a secret episode involved? It ended up with my brain taking a fast dive.
Yep, I put your brain in the deep fryer, so you're recovered.
I think I'm recovered now, but I'm only recovered because I had some outside help, let's just say.
Sounds very ominous.
Very ominous. All right. You know how to use your imagination, right?
Yeah, been using it since I was a little kid.
You've sat in a box, waving your hands, making a rainbow with it, and going, imagination. Well,
Yeah, specifically that, yep.
we need you to imagine something, or at least I need you. So, imagine a scenario for me, Dom. You own a small woodworking studio that specializes in only using manual tools. You don't believe in power tools. A customer calls you up one day and orders a massive curio cabinet. It's definitely an order you feel that you could get done. You tell the customer that, yeah, you could do it. Great, right? Isn't that great? You could do something that the customer says.
Yes, provide for their needs.
There's one glaring problem. This rich customer wants it done within 3 days, and you have a dilemma of sorts. You can refuse the rich customer and keep your no power tool mindset, or go against your morals. You ultimately decide on caving in and using power drills to finish this work on time. You finish the piece, and it looks moderately nice. A solid 8 or 9 out of 10. There's one problem, though. The problem that you faced was you used power tools.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's like okay, it's like I'm supposed to not use it.
You are opposed to power tools.
So I don't want to use it, but it's like, okay, I don't like it, but hey, I'll use it just to get this speedy job done.
No, it's eating at your soul. You hate yourself that you did it, even though the work at the end of the day is a solid cabinet, is an 8 out of 10, but you kind of feel like it's a 2 or 3 out of 10 at best, just because it's eating away at your soul, the fact that you used power tools. You think to yourself that this might as well be a heap of junk, since it wasn't done with a simple hammer or screwdriver. Now,
Yeah?
knowing that, I want to see if you could guess the premise of this episode, just based on that little scenario.
So it's just problem-solving skills, pretty much, and then... So essentially what it sounds like, okay, it's not a math question, but it's like one of those problem-solving questions, like we had back in school. Or just learning how to use power, or not power tools, using tools. Maybe I'm off.
Okay. So, I'm gonna give you partial credit to this one, because I could see a connection between what you just said and what my reasoning for that scenario is. So, that's very close. At least when you mentioned problem solving, it kind of has the similar frame in that it's kind of the same.
Yeah.
So good on you for that. At least the analogy didn't totally fail. So, power tools are machines that can help reduce time. And so does artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence?
AI does the exact same thing. The only difference is that usually nobody cares if you've used a screwdriver versus a power drill, as long as your cabinet functions properly.
Oh, they
Now,
probably wouldn't even care if I used my fingernails.
true, but one question now that I have for you. How familiar are you with AI?
I mean, the only thing I kind of know is that it's still in its infancy stage, and I mean, we talked about it in a previous episode. Something in Japan,
Right.
and I don't know. It's like I think later, probably in a decade or two, we'll probably see more stuff that's not. I guess that doesn't require humans. Like I guess at a fast food place, you're likely not gonna see someone already making up your quick hamburger, and we'll probably see robots making it. Probably, who knows? I could be completely off with that, but
And you know what? You could be. And I'm actually glad that you didn't do 2 weeks of research. I mean, I did research, but I didn't put every single thing on this article on this little sheet that I'm reading off of. I have, just bullet points that I want to kind of bring up a little bit. And interesting the fact that you did say that case in Japan. I don't remember because
what
I
was
don't know about you, but I know that there's more stories in Japan than just that one. So I don't know if it's the same one that I'm thinking of, but
Oh, you were talking about some kind of like um like VR thing, and
VR. So I wasn't exactly thinking of the same one. But hey, that's good because this episode, we're gonna at least dive a little bit further than we did before with it. That I could say for sure. Might not get into, college professor level thesis, whatever, but we're going to at least give people some opinions, some examples. We're going to kind of take it through piece by piece to kind of explain it in a way that a lot of people can understand. We'll give examples, like I said, and we can get a little bit into that nitty grittiness.
the nerd
So
level logic.
it's a
Okay.
great thing that you didn't exactly say every single thing. That's a great thing. You're going into this mostly blind, I guess.
Okay.
You did say it was in its infancy stage, which, on the grand scale of things, is true, and it's also not true.
I mean, we're still in a
We can kind of get into that a little bit later.
So oh yeah, and also yeah, we're still kind of in an analog world. Not everything's all digital.
Correct. So, in basic terms, do you know what artificial intelligence is? I know we kind of just went over everything that you know, but if you were to give me a kindergarten sort of definition, what would that be in basic terms?
If I put it in the most Spark Notes thing way possible,
Yeah.
It's
pretend I'm 6 years old and you're explaining it to me the first time, right?
well, I could probably say it's like a computer that can think for itself without the user with putting any inputs in it, if that makes any sense.
It
could,
does make sense. And honestly, so I used a site that all of the teachers in the world seem to really hate, but I did use Wikipedia for some of this stuff. All right. The Wikipedia article defines artificial intelligence as perceiving, synthesizing, and inferring information demonstrated by machines as opposed to intelligence displayed by animals and humans. Now, that's pretty much what you said, obviously, with more educated words in the mix. I mean, I did ask you for a 6-year-old version, so that's that's bound to happen. But you're pretty much smack dab with it.
Yep, that's essentially what it means.
Right. Do you know how it's used in our DomJake production?
I guess when I don't know if you, oh my god, in this specific podcast, I guess it filters out any background noise. Oh my god, I might be off.
I mean, somewhat. I mean, I haven't used much of that system, but I technically have a little bit. So that I'll give that point to you. Hey, do you know of anything else?
Can't really say that I do.
All right, that's not a problem. So I'll at least list off the big or little ways that we have used artificial intelligence, just in the confines of this podcast, anyway, or channel, not podcast, but you got that. All right. So for thumbnails, sometimes artificial intelligence is used in it.
So the thumbnails, that could be, so it just generates, is it picky the stock, like image or whatever?
It almost in a way, like, I mean, technically, actually, you know how YouTube gives you, like, the 3 randomly selected frames from, so I guess that technically does count, but the thing that I was thinking of was, you recall the first episode that we did?
If we ruled our own kingdom.
Correct. You recall what my thumbnail was for that one?
I saw that, yep.
Yeah, it's basically, let's see, a red castle on the left side with a soldier or a swordsman, whatever, defending that red castle. But on the other side, on the right side, I have a blue castle. And that represents, well, me, right? Then I also have a blonde swordsman defending that one. Now, in the middle of it, it obviously says our podcast name, or at least the episode name. That was, what if we ruled our own kingdoms, right? Something like that. Those, let's see, the 2 castles and the 2 warriors, those started out as just one description. I put red castle realistic, pressed enter or start or generate, whatever. And after doing that for like 5 times, your castle, the one that I used, is done. It came out. I mean, I still needed to make a little bit minor adjustments, but I did that for both of our castles and the guys. The warriors, rather. So, in thumbnail making, not all the time, but some of them I have used artificial intelligence to really kickstart. Like, most of it is basically done in my phone's version of like a knockoff Photoshop. But like I said, there are some things that I have made use of artificial intelligence in with the thumbnails. That first episode being a big one. I'm trying to think. I think I also used it for, let's see, the hanging out one. I used that to give me a blue cooler. That's thumbnails. We've actually done a little bit more with artificial intelligence, though, and you might not have known or seen it.
Or at least put much thought. Well, I mean, I probably wondered how are these thumbnails made.
Right.
And
And most of it, like I said, is that Photoshop, I will say. But some of it, I have definitely used aspects generated by machines.
Artificial intelligence. Okay, now it reminds me. It reminds me of something like from like years ago that I think used artificial intelligence.
Yeah, honestly.
Something I remember that used it, but I think I remember. I don't know. It was like I can't even really think of it. I can't really. I mean, I can. I mean, I know what it is, but I remember it was like based on a YouTuber, and it's like, okay, what if this YouTuber was this, and then it just slaps their face on blah blah that on something.
Like, what if,
Or
I don't know,
do you
like,
remember? Do you remember?
what if Mr. Bob
Mr. Bob
was
was a
was
dinosaur.
painted by Van Gogh, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I was like, or what if YouTuber Bob was a dinosaur?
Right, okay, yeah.
And it just like did
We
some
will
kind of,
dive into that, actually. We
and it
will
just
dive
like
into that. So, other than thumbnail making, can you think of any other aspect that we use artificial intelligence for?
um
And it's okay to say no.
nah. I mean, I'm sure if you say it, then I'll be like, oh yeah, that.
Right, that's probably going to be the case. So, search engine optimization or tags, right? I put some of the tags can be automatically generated, sort of deal. But I put some tags in the YouTube description, or I don't know, in the tag section. Yes, I'm a professional here. The tag section. So then other people will get recommendations if they searched up the word kingdom, right? I mean,
Hashtag
we,
kingdom.
our first episode might not be the first thing that's shown, but it'll probably be one of the things that are there on the 47th page or something.
Who knows? Number 47 on trending. If
Oh, not that,
I know.
but the 47th page, which is like, the 4,700th video or something. But
Yeah, you have to keep digging for our videos, so
yeah, eh, every every foundation needs, every kingdom has to have people digging out a foundation. There we go. That's how it works. Um, but there are three other examples of what I could think of using artificial intelligence to help us out. We use autocorrect and word suggestions,
that.
right?
Yeah.
Like we do
We
that all the time because sometimes,
yeah.
we might spell Philadelphia wrong, and then it will show up. Hey, that's how you actually spell Philadelphia.
Yeah, we've probably had that. We've had that since technology really became crazy. Autocorrect.
Yes, and technically, that is artificial intelligence. It was just trained based off of a human interacting with it.
Hmm.
That human said, "Oh, this is how you spell Philadelphia." So now, every
I
time someone misspells Philadelphia, they know how to spell Philadelphia.
Yeah, it gives you like like when you type something, it gives you like it already shows you the words. Yeah.
Correct, right. And similarly, the word suggestion. Like, what if I typed in, like, the search bar, things you can do in PH?
Yep.
It's gonna give me Philadelphia, maybe.
Maybe, just maybe.
Or if you search up another version of PH, you probably shouldn't. But, right. Now, another example of artificial use is timestamp help. Now, we don't really do that a lot with our descriptions, but there are videos out there who you could say, oh, from 2 minutes 40 seconds to 10 minutes and 6 seconds.
Oh yeah, the index.
It'll be, yes, that index system, that timestamp stuff, where it's like, oh, I had 6 minutes and 45 seconds. That was a very funny thing. And then clicking those numbers, technically kind of is artificial intelligence in a way. That example being a little bit less utilized, but still is.
I mean, it depends if the timestamp was auto-generated and it just brings you to a random part of a video.
True, like the latest thing, which I actually support YouTube for doing this one. I think this one's a one step ahead sort of deal. But the thing that they have on desktop version is the most rewatched sort of deal. Like it will do. This section is where people mostly rewatch, or like this is the part where people tend to click off or tend to pause the most on, or something like that.
That's where, yep, that's when it's. I've noticed that lately.
Right, yeah, and I think it's being slowly accommodated to mobile as well, but it's not quite there yet. But the timestamps are still there. Like we could technically click on the chapter, and there we go. That's the actual cooking process of this recipe or whatever, right?
Yep.
So kind of similar to the autocorrect and word suggestions.
Oh yeah, another thing is the closed captioning. Even that's kind of off, but it tries its best.
Yes, actually, it is off, at least if it's auto-generated. Sometimes people manually put stuff in to actually make it right, but if it's auto-generated, that's that there. Because who knows, maybe I have a weird accent that the YouTube system does not understand. So maybe I say Google and it thinks I said Bing, right?
Or
Something like that.
Or maybe.
But speaking of Google and Bing, search engines and recommendation systems. Not exactly the search engine itself, but you know how, let's see, you look at a YouTube video, and on the side, it'll say, people also watched, or recommended for you, like on the sidebar. The home screen, after you refresh, changes to match things that are kind of similar to what you just watched.
Or ads, like personalized, or get ads based on what you watch.
Targeted ads, correct. It bases off of how you search, how you watch, sometimes how you speak in a home. If you have like devices listening to you, sometimes it will just give you it, right? But yeah, Google, Bing, the Netflix recommended sections, the YouTube recommendations, all of that is pretty much artificially intelligent. It's giving you recommendations based off of what you've enjoyed before, or what you've watched before, or maybe like, oh, on Little Bobby's Netflix account, Little Bobby only watches, Dora the Explorer or something like that. So that recommendation system is going to give Bluey, or is going to give Go Diego Go, or Caillou, or something.
Peppa Pig, the Wiggles.
Right, you get it. But similarly, Mr. Bob, who was 78, is only watching documentaries.
He's probably watching the Jeffersons, and he doesn't want to watch, like, Paw Patrol, because
right.
Grand Bobby watched that.
But that home screen is going to recommend things that are, like, documentations or, just news. What do old people like? Homework.
Homework, Wizard of Oz, Captain
I mean,
Kangaroo.
Wizard of Oz, I think everybody enjoys, but that's besides the point there. Like, all of these systems and more, because I didn't even say things like Yahoo, because I'm sure that has the same sort of system in play.
Oh.
I haven't said, I don't know, those websites that say surprise me. I'm not talking about Google here, but like
Oh yeah, might.
pull up a random video that you think you'll like, or something like that. That in of itself is all using artificial intelligence. Now, Dom,
Yeah.
that is only the surface level of pretty much the usage of artificial intelligence. I'm just going to start saying AI because that's a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm.
Get ready. We're going to dive a little bit deeper now on this iceberg of AI stuff. The AI iceberg, if you will.
The AI Spurg.
The AI iceberg. We're starting to dip our toes into the actual water
Like
down
liquid,
below the AI iceberg.
dipping our toes in the liquid nitrogen AI Spurg.
Something like that. Voice replication, recognition, and alteration.
I was literally thinking about that not that long ago.
Great. Want to talk about it?
Yeah. So, well, yeah. So you pretty much do text to speech with like character voices. Is that what you're thinking of?
I'm talking about that. I'm talking about reading a script, and the program will be able to spit out your voice reading whatever you type out. Not just, not just like the Apple Brian voice or like the not just like the Siri voice or
Or the
whatever.
speak and spell synthesizer.
Right, whatever, but it will actually be your or the voice that you inputted
Like, yeah,
reading out the list.
yeah. If I wanted to have a SpongeBob voice talk about World War II, then yeah, I can just do that.
That is an option. You can do that. However, you can also just read the script yourself and then type any word. And it's not perfect, but sometimes it's perfect.
I mean, if it sounds that good, well, maybe 5 years later it'll sound too perfect. But right now, it's still sounds like it was typed out.
It does sound like a program is copying your voice right now, because I did use, just to test it out, just so that I'm not BSing anything. I did download one, and I did read everything, because what they do is they give you sentences that have technically every sound in the U.S. language, U.S. in the English language. So then you could literally type out anything, and they know what to do. It sounded so creepy, like it
Yeah,
was me, but it was not me, but it was me.
kind of creepy, if you ask
And
me.
it was eerie. So we have the alteration part down and the replication part, but the recognition. You know, whenever you're speaking into a microphone, and I'm talking about like you're speaking to Siri or your home assistant, whatever, and you say, "Hey, play a Billy Joel album," or something, right? It will do that because it recognizes that you said, "Play Billy Joel."
And then over time, as you listen, it's like, oh, based on your recommendations, and it plays the songs based on what you listen to.
The recommendation system is completely the other interaction, or the the other integration with AI, but the recognition part. Have you ever seen this video where, like, I think they gathered different Europeans in a room and tested out their accent versus, like, I think Siri, Alexa, and something else, but they
Okay.
progressively get a little bit more harder to understand, like thicker accents. They'll start out, talking normally or how they've been trained to communicate with everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and then out of nowhere they would start talking a little bit differently. So you could tell that I'm putting on a little bit different voice, right? You could tell I have a little bit different of an accent.
Yes, I do. Oh, yes, I do. I can see that.
Right, but it's also kind of close to the one that I've been using before.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Kinda.
But then they also have, the third level. I can't do the third level, so I'm not going to. But the thicker accent to test out versus, like, all of the different voice recognition softwares. That is artificial intelligence, too. Being able to replicate, recognize, and alterate.
Mm. Right. Like, it's not going to recognize that.
Yeah, well, it might. It might, right? No, that's bad. But okay, you like playing video games, correct?
Yes, I do.
You do. What types of games do you like?
I don't know, I like those, like, a lot of them are, I like platformers and, like, racing games and open world stuff. Well, that's
Are
mostly what I like.
platforming not so much because platforming is kind of on the single player sort of route. I mean, I
And
guess it could be multi, but
it
racing,
depends. Actually,
like,
I do have a sort of it's kind of a platform game, but you can do multiplayer because then you can play multiple characters at once.
well, let's put it this way then. The racing games. How
Racing.
often are you playing by yourself?
Not very often.
With racing games, no?
I don't know. It depends, I guess. I mean, I guess if we're talking about Burnout, then I've played that by myself at least.
So the thing that I'm kind of getting at is, you know how in Mario Kart, right? You can play by yourself. However, there are still 7 or 8 different characters on that playing field.
The CPUs that are
The
playing.
CPU, correct. That's artificial intelligence.
Or yeah, a bunch of NPCs like you're racing with, so
Yes, NPCs can be artificially intelligent. They don't have to be, because a lot of the time NPC also just means, that character that's only saying, "Hi, welcome to the shop."
welcome
And,
to Jumanji.
right, that too. Those CPUs are making decisions that sometimes don't make sense, right? Like they might be throwing a banana backwards when they should be throwing it in front.
Or like
Stuff like that.
yeah,
So
that's definitely what happens. Or they'll glitch.
sometimes too, but let's kind of change the focus to online chess and online Go.
Oh, those
You know what chess is, so I'm not going to explain that one, but Go is basically a it's a playing field. I want to say it's like 10 by 10 squares or something, but one person puts down a black tile, then someone puts down a white tile, and depending on where someone puts something, they could take control of that tile and flip it over and now it's, the other color, and now it's in their control. I don't know how to play Go. I just know that online chess and online Go have those computer systems who were obviously trained by somebody who knows how to do something to make these moves. Put the queen in the gambit or whatever, and so then the king is the winner. I don't know how to play chess either.
It's been a while since I played it. I mean, I know what it's. I've heard of it.
I've obviously heard of it.
I guess that's credit, I guess.
But yeah, I'm gonna do this next part a little bit quicker. I'm just gonna ask you, do you know about self-driving cars?
Oh, autonomous cars?
Autonomous cars.
So I remember doing a project about it sophomore year in high school.
Perfect.
I remember I think it was I guess it tries to calculate, or I don't know, whether a car is coming or whether a car is close or whether it's far away, when to brake, when a car is stationed, still, so that it brakes.
Correct. And actually, at this point, self-driving cars are a little bit more advanced than that. Sure, glitches and stuff still happen, but let's not focus on that part. The self-driving cars that we have today can tell that there is a soccer ball that's rolling in the middle of the street. It's an unplanned item, so it's just going to stop.
So yeah, well, or if a reindeer, like a deer just comes out of the woods, like a reindeer or something like that,
And it can detect that because it has cameras that are telling it what's around it. And sometimes with the self-driving cars, actually all the time, not just sometimes, all of them have, a manual control too. So you could put it in self-drive, but if you think that it's going to fall off the cliff unless if you steer it away, you could steer it away. That's not an issue. The self-driving cars of today are a little bit better than the ones that were in, 2018 or something?
2016?
16 even, shit. But yeah, they're using artificial intelligence to drive a vehicle, sometimes carrying fragile things, and it's doing that as if it's nothing. Sometimes.
Oh no, my grandma's table broke. Something like that, because my car just jerked like that.
But we're at the point now where it might not just jerk like that. Or at the very least, if it is like a self-driving thing, who knows? Maybe maybe the only person in the vehicle is in the back supporting the table. That's probably not safe yet,
Yeah.
but these vehicles, and not necessarily know, but they can detect what color the light is, whether to stop at it, to go, to proceed with caution, to turn right, left, to read those orange signs that you see on the side of the road that say, slow down, fines doubled. Huh. I wonder about that. Self-driving cars, if they get a speeding ticket, who gets it?
I wonder, if it gets really close to the traffic light, if it turns yellow, will it stop or will it speed up before it turns red?
True, that too.
Depends on how close you are to it.
Right. Dom, it is also possible to work with artificial intelligence in a creative piece, right?
I mean, we talked about it earlier with your thumbnail creations.
Sure. The picture stuff, you could input a prompt that churns out a few pics, that, um, you could start a paragraph and click enter, and then, it'll just give you a paragraph or a page just based off of that 1 or 2 sentence start. There's music completion, which Google actually had a thing. I think it was dedicated to Mozart. I think
Oh yeah, I think I remember we talked about that.
we did, but I am bringing it up again because it is fascinating. The improvements over time make it so you could take, the first minute of a Lady Gaga song and it could spit you out something entirely different. It will complete music just like it will complete that paragraph. Um, like we said earlier, that prompt that turns out a few pictures, um, and sometimes enhancements to those photos too, like the Snapchat filters or whatchamacallit, right?
Yeah.
Things that obviously you might not be green with stocky eyes, but it will make you look like, a stereotypical alien or something, right? You don't look like that, but the system is meshing around your face to kind of make it look like you are a green alien, right? Like, just that's on the basic end. But
Yep.
pretty much you can do the same thing with anything else creative. Like, really, that's the that's the essence of it.
Mm.
Ooh. Before the controversial parts, I'm going to bring up a comment that I left on somebody else's post. Essentially, what they were asking is, why do people support it? Or do you think that it should, evolve to a point of no return or something like that? They were asking like a big loaded thing.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just read the thing that I responded. I am true neutral to this whole thing, but I will share something that I think we need to finalize or improve before AI is perfected. If we end up with machines doing literally anything that people don't need to do, we need a better economic structure. If people need to pay for things while everything you possibly can do is taken by machines, that's a busted system. Sure, the structure now isn't anywhere close to perfect either, but if people aren't earning money, then there shouldn't be a need to demand for it either. It's pretty much the same thing as having the prices for things inflate while your boss remains to pay you the same. Instead of being able to pay for rent, groceries, everything, you'd have a harder time if literally everything around you was inflated, except for your pay. We're at a point where AI is good enough, but we're also not at the point where every single position is taken by machines yet.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't think everything needs to be all like Terminator.
I mean, who says it has to? But in this hypothetical scenario, it is, right? Um, I'll finish what I replied to them because I replied a lot, but I'll finish with these 2 sentences. I like the technological advancement part of it, but I don't like seeing where it will end up if the other in-place systems don't change to accommodate, right? Like I said with the apartment sort of thing. If you're not getting paid more, you're gonna have a hard time meeting the demand that your landlord has, right? Like that's just basic. That's basic numbers there.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of controversial, kind of, because I'm talking about making a different economic structure. But anything political or economical can sometimes be a little bit of a debate. But
Yep, I just kind of. Yep.
at the very least, and this is if we end up to that perfection of AI point, where anything that can possibly be done with machines is done with machines, why would there be a need for money if everything is done? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't need to pay the painter to paint your wall because the robot did it. Like,
Yeah. Say that.
that's the very short version of what I commented. And yes, that was long, but it was short compared.
It was
Uh,
like the tip of the iceberg, the tip of the A iceberg.
the AI iceberg is almost rearing the end. Almost. I'm going to talk about controversies now. Controversies of any sort can sometimes be a little bit triggering. So, if you would like to skip, I will, in editing, I will put up a time code right now to where you should skip, just because controversies are sometimes an issue. The first two are not really bad, but the third one I could actually flash the timestamp to skip again. So yeah, just want to say that one before starting the controversial stuff.
You've all been warned.
Right. Let's get into it with a funnier controversy, but still controversial. Have you heard of a story about a Japanese guy? He is probably 50 to 60, who's very obsessed, well, not very obsessed, but who really likes motorcycles and electric scooters and stuff like that. Have you heard of this guy?
Nope, I've not heard of him.
Well, that's interesting because not a lot of people in Japan had either until he decided to have an artificial intelligent sort of makeover, so to speak. Because how many guys out there do you see posting about motorcycles or cars or electric scooters? A lot, right?
You see that like pretty much everywhere.
You see a lot of dudes, but you don't see a lot of young females posting about it, correct?
Not often you don't see that, no.
I mean, it happens,
Sure you do.
but not as much.
Yep.
It's probably like
there we go.
it's probably like an 85-15 split, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Now, this Japanese guy used artificial intelligence. He took his photos that he was going to post, but then he clicked on young filter, and then he also clicked on female filter. So now, this attractive young lady, quote unquote, is sharing, unique builds for motorcycles or just little things like that. And suddenly, out of nowhere, this girl gets popular. So this guy became pretty much overnight popular just because this random teenage girl was posting things about guy stuff, right? About engines, scooters, motorcycles. Overnight sensation. But the problem with that, and I want to see if you could guess why that stopped. Why did he stop doing this?
Because I don't know, I guess he realized it was wrong, or like the reputation.
He didn't do it for that.
I guess
It's
he just
because
wanted it, or there's an oh. So he's saying he thought he'd get more attention.
that's not why he stopped, though. Well, I don't think he actually stopped at the end of it, but how people found out that he was using artificial intelligence was because the reflection in a surface showed an old man, while,
Oh yeah.
the photo showed a young girl. So the reflection did not match, and they caught on to that.
Sounds like one of those caught in a lie, like compilations.
And it kind of is. And it's kind of a funny story. That's why that's the first controversy, because it technically is, I guess, a form of catfishing. But I don't think this one is very, like, a harmful type of catfish, because it's not like he was asking for money.
Or
He
like
was literally just doing this to show more people his motorcycles. It's the only reason why.
I mean, it wasn't like, I guess, not trying to harm people, just, hey, check out this motorcycle.
Right. And honestly, it worked. And I think he's still posting under that different alias sometimes. However, he is also posting regularly too. So a little bit of column A and column B. So I think I've told you about this second controversy, and once again, it's not one of the unsafe ones. In Colorado, there was a state fair that happened, I want to say last year, in summer, I think, but it might not have been. Let's just say give or take.
Like this past summer, or like 2 summers.
2 summers, actually, at this point. I think it was 2021, the summer, but I could be wrong. This guy let's see. This guy input a prompt and it churned out a photo. But he took that photo and submitted it into the contest, and he won first prize. And he 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 won over people who actually spent like 2 weeks painting a painting or whatever, actually working on something. But he takes 3 seconds typing out a thing, and that's what he does.
Yeah,
He
so
wins first prize.
maybe,
That is immoral, correct?
yeah, I would probably at least say, hey, maybe the artificial intelligence should have won.
I mean, that, but also, he didn't get disqualified at all. If you and I were entering into a competition and you spent, let's say you spent 3 weeks only using screwdrivers and hammers to build a cabinet, then here I do, and I use electric tools, and I do that in 3 days. I mean, I'm trying to just bring back the original thing, but I guess it didn't really work that well. You'd be pissed though, right? Because you've spent this long on something that I just won first place in, just spending a day on. You wouldn't feel great about that. At least whenever the news comes out, you might.
I'd probably be like, hey, I actually worked to get the prize. All you did was typed it in, or you just used electricity, and there you go.
Right. Now, he didn't get eliminated or disqualified, or even the first prize taken back. it was kind of more of a learning lesson, sort of. But once again, it's a gray area type of thing. It's great, and it's also not at all. Because at that point, sure, you could say the guy does deserve the prize because he's the one who had the original idea. Sure. But he's not the one who did it. But he also technically did do it in a way. But he didn't really do it.
Yeah, he didn't really technically with like the AI, but he doesn't even have like probably doesn't even have the skills to do whatever that painting was or the.
And even if you do have the skills, is that immoral, moral, or just morally gray to do that and claim first prize of something that you didn't fully do? That's a different can of worms. A suggestion that I had was potentially having two different competitions going on. One that allowed AI assistance, and then the other one that outright doesn't. Because at least if you have one that does allow it, people can have that one. Once again, it doesn't stop someone from, putting an AI one in the non-AI one. But it should slow things down at least a little bit. Who knows? It's still a new problem that maybe in 10 years we will actually have a solution to. Right now, we don't.
And I don't know, we'll probably have something, but I don't know.
Because, right, back in the 2015 time when you were doing your automated car research is definitely not where it was. It has improved. Same sort of thing with this. In a few years, this problem is probably going to be solved, but maybe a whole different one pops up.
I guess so, yeah. Maybe we'll have
Right.
something to follow up on.
Correct, yeah.
Ever since now I can finally talk about it after like 2016 when I used to talk about it.
Right. Once again, we will be providing the time code to skip to right here. Just because this third controversy is, let's just say, worse. All right. Dom,
Yeah.
I want you to guess what is so bad that I had twice a timestamp flash up on screen to have people skip. Well, what could be so bad?
I mean, could there be something that could trigger somebody? Or this could have happened
Yes.
to them. And
Yes.
now listening to. So you've been warned. So if this triggers you, please, by all means, skip to the whatever time code.
Right, but what do you think is so bad that I wanted people to skip this part?
It could be like
What is bad?
anything that's going to cause a PTSD. I don't know if I'm going to. Oh, God, there's like a number of things out there.
There is a number of things, so I'm just going to narrow it down and actually tell you the answer. All right. People taking somebody's face who didn't do this and deep faking them in video.
Oh, one of those. Oh, beautiful.
Yes. There are some people's lives who were ruined just because some schmuck online decided to put, this teacher's face onto this actresses'
Like, oh, wonderful
body.
acting.
I mean, that's not the point here, but there are people who can deepfake. Now, deepfakes are sometimes funny, right? You can see you having your face put onto a Nicolas Cage action shot or something, right? And that's funny because, hey,
We're just
that's
joking around.
not Nicolas Cage. That's you who stole the national treasure or something like that, right? That's funny.
Yeah.
But when it isn't funny is when it's not funny.
Well, we have to be
There,
more specific than that.
right? But I'm trying to kind of sugarcoat it, even though people are skipping this anyway. But it's sad that we've gotten to a point where people's lives are ruined for literal things that they didn't do. This goes beyond artificial intelligence too, but we don't need to go into the beyond part.
I don't even think it's even about that at that point.
Like, people have been fired for not being in a video like that.
Yeah, well,
Obviously, people have been, if you're an elementary school teacher, obviously you're probably going to get questioned and fired if you actually are an adult star like that. But what if you really are innocent and you didn't do any of this and just someone superimposed your face
well, I'd probably,
onto this video?
well, I do believe in the innocent till proven guilty, so I don't know. I'd probably be like,
But that's where that kind of goes down the drain, because they have
it's like,
a visual of somebody doing something. Whether or not they did it or didn't doesn't matter. They see that this adult video stars the kindergarten teacher, even though it really doesn't. But they don't know that. They saw a video. That's proof enough, right? That's messed up.
you just ruin someone's life for your own personal gain. Well, honestly, like, it'd be hard to kind of disprove them, but
It would be, right? Because it's almost one of those things where it's like the first person to say something is the one we're going to believe. And since this person posted a video that they claim you are in, well, that's who we're going to believe, whether or not it's true.
yeah, that's crazy. Well, I mean, I would probably tell the person who created it, like, you better tell them. You better tell them you created this, or I'm reporting you.
And that is certainly a path you can take. Unfortunately, some people get traumatized and scarred for this because they didn't think this would happen to them. And maybe, maybe their relationships are ended because someone thought that they were doing this on the side. Some people want to position themselves as far away from that stuff as possible. And some people don't listen to the person giving a defense. They just say, okay, I saw what looked like you in this. No more. Bye. Right? And that's sad. Like, people's lives are ruined by this sometimes.
Yep, that's crazy though.
So at this point is where you could skip to. Hello, people who skipped the explicit one. We are done with the explicit one. Yay.
Awesome.
You could tell that the two of us are either pissed or, like, sad now.
Yeah, well, yep, we're hiding our emotions.
Well, whether or not you credit the artist the AI studied, Now, is it even your creation, or the original artists, or just the systems? Okay, let me get into a little bit more of an explanation. Sometimes with AI, in part of their training, they might have this whole person's portfolio inputted just to kind of train them to produce things in this style. The same thing sort of happens whenever you might type out Homer Simpson in the style of Vincent van Gogh. That happens, but we know it's Van Gogh, and it's not like he's around to really defend, and it's not like there really is any money involved either, because it's free to use.
Yeah.
It's fair use. You could use those old paintings in whatever you want now, because different copyright laws. But the thing is, that happens with modern day artists too. People who are still alive. Where, let's just say this artist, Mr. Bob.
Yeah, Mr. Bob.
Mr. Bob the artist spent 25 years painting these beautiful things, or drawing these things on a digital tablet, or whatever. Does these amazing things, but all of his work gets put into the program, and then some random person can just type out, Mr. Bob's style of a rocking chair with a teddy bear on it, right? Something like that. Mr. Bob didn't paint that, but it looks like he did. Do you credit the creator, as in the person who put in the sentence in the search system or whatever?
We wouldn't even really know. We wouldn't really know.
Do you credit that person? Do you credit the original artist, Mr. Bob? I think you should. At least say it was inspired by Mr. Bob. He didn't do it, but Mr. Bob was
really the one who did it. Inspired by, you would probably credit him.
You should.
Inspired by this guy.
You should, I think.
Yep.
Or do you credit the system for doing it? Or do you credit all of it? Like, I'm the one who put the prompt in. Mr. Bob's the one who he was inspired by, and I don't know, Terminator is the program that I used to do it. Right? Like,
yep.
Do you credit all of them? None of them? Just one? Two?
We have to. You gotta be like, you have to credit all of it, I guess.
But once again, we're still okay. The two of us are not, and I think it's safe to say, we are not in the online art community so much. Me, probably more than you, but I'm still not claiming to know every single thing about every possible internet artist. But I think that no. I know that a lot of artists have had their work stolen, traced. Well, tracing is a completely different thing that has nothing to do with artificial intelligence, but they've had things stolen, traced, and used as training material. And so this random program is now trained with Mr. Bob's art.
Sounds like a disqualification to me.
And it could be, but also might not be. Like, it's weird. I'm kind of with you. We should at least credit the original, like the inspiration artist and the system. I mean, at the very least, just the original artist, because frankly, a lot of the examples that I've seen don't even credit the original artist. It's like some fan of the original artist is like, it just pops up on their timeline, and they decided to let the original artist know. It's like, oh, this person must have used your stuff to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that would suck. Because it's kind of the same idea as just, oh, I have a post-it note that I wrote down a fantastic idea for a movie on. I give it to you just to show it to you or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go and you make the movie yourself. And it's like, that was my idea. I'm not even in the credits. Like what? That was me.
Mm-hmm.
That's my movie, but it's your name. That
Yeah,
sort
pretty
of
much.
thing. That similar sort of scenario happens all the time in the artist world. At
Yep.
least the modern day artist world.
Yeah. Yep.
And they're not even credited.
Of course not.
Because why would you credit someone else? Because you want all of the likes on your post rather than having, Mr. Bob have their likes on the post. So, Dom,
Yeah.
you've heard all of the topics that we have discussed, right?
Oh yeah. Fred pretty much been there for that. I mean, if we talked about it.
I mean, we don't need to summarize every topic, but if you can recall all of the topics, imagine if, and no, this has nothing to do with cabinets anymore. We're done with that analogy. Imagine combining every single AI together. Everything. What type of meshed up avatar would we have, right? Or it's like, okay, a voice that is made up of a random person, right? Or not even a person, but like something that has a voice that thinks on its own, that isn't human, that, makes pictures or something. What if we combined everything that we spoke about into one entity? What would happen?
Oh, I feel like it would implode. Just too much intelligence.
Too much intelligence is
It would
just a
just,
bad thing.
I don't know, it would probably implode whatever machine that's got all that AI just smashed together.
Right. I can see that because obviously with humans, there's not one person who knows everything. There's someone who's, a professional at shoveling poo, and then there's somebody who's just okay at it. And take that with every single hobby out there. But this weird amalgamation of artificial intelligence, it will have voice recognition, alteration, it will make some people look different. But like, if we manage to find a way to make every artificial intelligence work together in some aspect, what's distinguishing it from human in that regard?
Wow. Just get everything that just thinks for itself. I gotta think about that one.
It's certainly something that I don't expect you to come up with like an answer like right away. If anything, it's a good thing that you're kind of thinking about it right now and that you didn't have an answer right away, because it's a newer thing. And this problem isn't so much a problem now, but if the advancement keeps improving this much,
Gives me a thought of like, okay, if we have enough, I mean, imagine if we had if we had too many people on this planet, and then we had like a second Earth, and is that going to be run by AI? Like, by the time AI gets better, it's like by then we'll probably have too many people, and then whatever other Earth there is.
Honestly, that's a neat thought process, because there are planets, right, that technically we might be able to inhabit, but because of breathing issues, we can't live on. Like, I think every single planet in this galaxy is bound to be livable, except, is it really living if we're sending androids up there to do things? I mean, if they could think using the same sort of structure as a brain to figure things out, and in fact, it's probably better than a brain because they can maybe remember things. Or, I know I'm kind of spitballing a lot of ideas here, but maybe it is going to be like a brain, because maybe they only have capacity for, and I'm just going to make it up, 1 terabyte of data. And every single time they have to kind of prioritize their memory, sort of thing. Maybe that's how that works, to kind of simulate, hey, these are people, kind of. Is it? What is a person?
There's a lot of brain power.
A lot of brain power, right. But what is a computer? That's a lot of, well, power and knowledge, but it's not fleshy. But it could be fleshy.
Derived from a human.
Yeah, I mean, you see all the time that, for instance, a mechanic might, no, not a mechanic, an inventor might have an invention. They might refer to it as like, oh, her, right? You see a lot of the time with like boats and vehicles too, they're named like people. Well, why would
Chase the car?
it's like, oh yeah, she runs at about 75 miles on a horsepower or whatever. Right?
Listen to her purr.
Well, to her, right? I'm gonna take her out on the Pacific Ocean for a deep water adventure, right? They do personify vehicles and machinery like that, and inventions too. It's like, oh, she's been low on gas ever since. And it's like, well, that's weird if you're talking about a person, but if you're talking about an invention, if we were to have that android, and this goes kind of beyond just artificial intelligence because of the fact that it's pretty much an android that can think with artificial intelligence. Who's to say that artificial intelligence isn't really just official? We've been having this discussion for a while now, and I feel like we might have hit everything as much as we really could. Plus, since we have been on this topic for a while, you might not be able to think anymore. And at that point, let's just put a computer in your brain and have it think for you.
Yeah, it'll probably cost me hopefully insurance covers it.
Yeah, your health insurance or your computer brain insurance?
Yeah, maybe my health insurance will or unless I'm at a lab, which that will likely never happen.
Well, honestly, you can never say never. Do you have any idea, and this is an open-ended thing, do you know what types of systems we could put into place to prevent or detect the controversial stuff? What's the line? Is it for a funny joke, or is it meant to cause harm, sort of deal? Like, do you think we should have different systems put into place to prevent things?
I feel like to a degree, I think so.
To a degree.
I mean, yeah, I mean, depends. I mean, if we're using it for harm, then yeah, we should probably do something for prevention.
Because the interesting thing is, though, who defines that? What is harm, right? Like, I mean, you're not getting hurt from me physically taking your painting
we can do
and training, right? Like, that who draws that line?
I guess we don't really know.
I mean, I think that's something that everybody, once it becomes more prevalent, should talk about. Because I certainly don't want one person to decide what happens. Whether it's a president, whether it's a prime minister of a different country, whether it's a CEO of Google or something. I don't want one person to dictate what to do. This sort of thing has to be decided by everyone, really. Like, what do you think?
I don't know, like, I guess to prevent future problems like that happening, there should be a system.
And what do you think
I don't
that
know
system
exactly.
would be?
I don't have an idea off the top of my head, but something will probably be, I don't know, like, I wouldn't say a questionnaire, because I don't know.
Almost to the point where it's like it almost feels like we're at the point where the next presidential candidate will have, a bullet point on their candidacy that says, "Oh, we are against artificial intelligence use. Let's ban it from the country," or something like that, right? It almost feels like it will get political someday.
Yep.
If it isn't already, geez.
Yeah. Yep. So, interesting.
Indeed.
Yep. So, I guess that covers it for now, right?
I'm pretty much fine with wrapping that up right here.
Yep.
Is there anything else that you have, like, to talk about, or do you have any other questions about this?
Well, I don't know, like, we'll get better, and I don't know, I think to prevent the problems, you think they'll probably have to fill out a survey. Well, I don't know, to make sure you're not, oh, I'm not a robot, or this. We already have that. Yep, so I guess we can wrap it up for now.
And wrap it up, we will.
All right.
If you liked this episode and decide you want to listen to more, feel free to check out our other episodes.
Although, those ones don't have RoboDom and AndroidJake in them. Despite that, it's still a fun time.
Yeah, right. We're obviously the far superior beings, even considering your face has been melted off. Your endoskeleton is showing.
Har har har
Ha
har
ha ha
har
ha
har.
ha 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 ha. That's so funny.